audience so we can help better understand it. Now, for a son to come to the father and say, Father, I want my inheritance, what he's essentially saying is, Father, I wish you were dead. Or in other words, Dad, hurry up and die. I can't wait for it. Because like today, or like in the past, when does a child get the inheritance? When the father's dead. So for a child to come up to a father and say, give me my inheritance, he's essentially saying, I wish you were dead. So now it gives us a better story. This story is about a better light. This story is about a certain man who is a father who is rejected from his son. In other words, the son says, I want nothing to do with you. I want all my stuff so I can go and leave me alone. Let's continue the story. Verse 13. And not many days after, the younger son, who took all of his inheritance, gathered all together and journeyed to a far country, and he wasted his possessions with prodigal living. And when he had spent it all, there arose a severe famine in the land, and he began to be in want, or he had a need. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed the pigs, or feed the swine. Now, this is the absolute pits for the Jew, because a Jewish person can't even eat pigs. And now here he is, a servant of all, and there he is now, feeding the pigs, and not only feeding the pigs, but he wished he could eat what the pigs were eating. He's at the lowest of the low. His father he had rejected his father. He'd ran away from home. He's now feeding the pigs. He wished he could eat what the pigs were eating. Obviously, you notice at this point in the story, he had no friends, because when your money goes, so there your friends go. So the money was gone, the friends were gone, he's all alone. Let's pick up the story. And he would have gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swines ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's servants, let's stop right there. How many of my father's servants? That gives us an idea of what this daddy's like. This daddy is a rich man. Everybody say a rich man. Because in that culture, it was very rare to have many servants. Paid servants, that is. And this father had many paid servants. How many people know that our Father in heaven has many angels in heaven? Many servants. You can start seeing the likelihood of who this father is. And how many people know that God in heaven, your daddy, is a very rich daddy? Right? Is he not? He's a rich daddy. He's got, people say, well, poverty is of God. If poverty was of God, then we have to pray for God, because his streets are made of gold. His gates are made of pearl. We got to ask God to downgrade from gold to concrete, right? Sell an angel or something and help feed world poverty here on the planet. So no, you see, he was doing well. He was a rich father, and you could see then how much money that kid must have got from his inheritance. Anyways, let's pick up the story. How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I will perish in hunger? Now I will arise, I will go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I'm no longer to be worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Now wait. People say, oh, he's such a good boy. He finally found the end of the road. He's left in despair. And God will sometimes do that to you so you could find the end of the road and come to God. Let me ask you a question. Do you think for a moment that this son cared about his father? Do you think for a moment that he cared, that he broke his father's heart, and that's why he's going home? No. Why did he want to become a hired servant? Because he did the math. I'm here, I'm eating the pig's food, my father has servants, they're probably getting more food than me. I got an idea. I will be a servant to my father so I can have more food. He wasn't going home because of his daddy. He was going home because of his belly. He was hungry and he ran out of food. And he said, surely I will be a servant. Totally wrong motivation. Totally selfish motivation. You say, why are you saying this, Nick? Because I want to bring clarity to the story. Many pastors teach, and when the son repented, then he came home with the right heart in his mind, and he said, Daddy, I'm so sorry. Please give me food. No. See, we have to realize that he came back because he was hungry. he didn't have a concern for his father. He had a concern for himself. Let's pick up the story. And then he arose and he came to his father. But while he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion. And he ran and he fell on his neck, or he embraced his son and he kissed him. The Bible says the father ran. Now there's two words in the Greek for run. One is run like jog. You're going for a jog or you're going for a run. And the other one is sprint, as though you are in a race. Guess which word this one was? Sprint, obviously. He ran full out after his boy. He said, oh my gosh, that is my son. Now, keep this in mind. In the Jewish culture, it was considered for a man who was over 30 years old, disrespectful and dishonorable for him to run. Some cultures to this day, that's why people just walk, take their time. It's considered dishonorable, undignified for him to run. The father didn't care. He just ran after his kid. In 1992, Barcelona Olympics. I don't know if you remember this. I saw a clip on it. It reminded me of the story. This 400-meter semifinal heat qualification to make the finals there. There was a runner by the name of Redmond who was running. He's running 200 meter. He's leading the race. On the 200 meter mark, he fell because he pulled his hamstring and he went down. And sheer agony, he watches the rest of everybody pass him. And as he's there, busted his leg, he said, I just had to finish the race. So rather than dropping out of the race, he stood up and he started limping, crying in agony to walk the second 200 meters of this race. And the story goes that as he was doing this, a man jumped out of the stands, down the stairs, over the thing. The security tried to tackle him. He pushed them off, and he started running after this kid. And as the young man looked up, he saw the man. He told the security, it's okay, it's okay. And this man came, put his arm around his shoulders like this. This was him, Redmond. And this man put his arms around the shoulders. And together, they walked the last 200 meters of the race until he finished. And of course, now all the eyes were off the winners of the race. All eyes was focusing on these two who were walking there. And they finally finished the race. And they said it was the most thunderous applause that the Olympics has ever seen. Pop quiz. Who was the man who carried him halfway around the race? His father. One of the greatest Olympic stories ever there. You see, the Bible says that this father ran and he embraced his son. Keep in mind, by now, this son stinks. He's been working with the pigs. He's been feeding the pigs, cleaning up their poop. And the father, in all of his dignity, came and he ran and he held him close. And then the Bible says he kissed him. And the word kiss there means to repeatedly kiss. Non-stop. Just kiss this boy over and over again. Even though the son ran away. Even though the son disrespected his father and he smelled like pigs. Even though it should have been the son who got down on his knees and kissed the feet of the father still came. He embraced his son. He kissed him over and over again. That is the love of the father. And then we pick up the verse, right? What does it say? And the son said to him, Father, I've sinned against you and I've sinned against heaven in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me one of your hired servants, right? But the father didn't let him finish that sentence. He didn't get a chance to finish his rehearsed speech. Why? Because a hired servant means that you have to earn your livelihood. It means you have to earn and work for the things that are given you. And the father said, no. God will never let you earn His love. He will never let you earn His goodness and His faithfulness and His healing and His blessings and His favor and His peace and His joy and His health. God will never let you do that. And that's why the father stopped and said, you cannot finish your speech that says, make me like one of your hired servants. And yet that's what we do in the church. God, just make me one of your servants. He won't let you do that. Because He'll never let you earn what is rightfully yours, what He gives you as a gift. Let's end. But the father said to his servants, bring the best robe. Everybody say the best robe. Put it on him, put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fattened calf here and kill it, and let us be merry, or let us have a party. For this son was dead and is alive. He was lost and he was now found. And they began to have a party. And his older son was in the field, and he came to draw near to the house, and he heard music and dancing. Now I can understand how you can hear music, but how on earth do you hear dancing? Must have been one sick party. Like the Tony Robbins conference. You could probably hear the dancing. How do you hear dancing? Crazy celebration. Why? Because of the Father's love. He threw a party for the son who did